It's so hard for me to sit back here in this studio looking at a guy out here hollering my name when last year I spent more money on spilt liquor in bars from one side of this world to the other than you made. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down.
And now, the two shitheads welcome you to Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk.
Good evening, Mr. Lund. How are you this evening?
I could be a little better, but that's a different conversation for another time. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic, as you can tell.
Good.
Tonight, we got Imagine Wrestling's The Good Neighbor, John Ross, on the show tonight. How do you feel about that?
We'll see once we get into the interview.
Yeah. All right, guys. So you know how we do it. We go through our sponsors first. Habits Beer and Tobacco, 960 Franklin Street, down by the hospitals. And
I'll drink to that.
There you go. And also Tulun's Living a Dream Bar and Grill, 90 Lule Street. All right. Are you ready to bring on the good neighbor?
Let's bring him on. So let's see what's doing.
All right. The good neighbor, John Ross. Welcome to Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk.
Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to talk to somebody that's not one of the normal Altoids around town here. So,
this podcast ain't over yet, so you might have a different feeling after.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you never know how things are going to work out. I mean, sometimes life is as complicated as the Argyle patterns on my sweater. But today's a good day. I did some work around the house. I feel like improving the neighborhood always starts with, within your own home and getting things in order. And so far, today's been good. I got some laundry done and did some grocery shopping, and probably going to go out and whack some weeds later.
That is a snazzy sweater you got on. I must admit.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it is. This is one of the newer ones I have. I don't wear this one too often. This also doubles as my. I usually use this whenever I need to officiate a match, or I was even asked to officiate a wedding once. Believe it or not.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
Jay, we might have to try and get you fit into his sweater there.
I don't know that I'm fitting into that, but I definitely like the style.
Actually, as a matter of fact, whenever I need to make this a little bit more official, I have a bow tie to match. So,
very nice. All right, John Ross. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself that doesn't already know you.
Oh, man, if anybody's been watching wrestling at all in this area, I can't believe there is anybody that doesn't know me. But for those who don't know, I am the good neighbor, John Ross. I advocate for putting on a sweater and making it better. I started out in the Altoona area wrestling. I'm still here now with Imagine Wrestling. I can be found on Instagram at real_good_neighbor. And since day one, my goal has been to set a better example for the people around the area where I'm working. And I started out cleaning up some trash, and that led to winning the first ever, in addition to recycling some of the competition, I won the first ever, and I think at this point the only Dojo Cup from Imagine Wrestling. I then went on to found the neighborhood with Malachi Gage being my first pick. He was somebody I saw. I didn't face him in the tournament, but I saw him up and coming, so I picked him, and he was my first pick. And we're now up to 5 members. We have Coach Lance Payne, who handles the coaching. I'm more of the, I guess you could say, general manager, if you want to put it that way. And then we also have the Alpha, Rick Matthews, Oscar Maverick, the ace, who's more of the high flyer, and he's more into like martial arts and that sort of thing. And we also have, like I said, Malachi Gage. That's the whole group. I've like I said, I won the Doja Cup, the first ever tag team champion in Imagine, and the neighborhood as a unit just recently defeated the main event to get the tag team champions back. Which I'd like to reiterate that I saw that those guys complained that they were outnumbered at the last show. I would like to remind everybody that I had a broken jaw, and when they came back, they chose. I'll give those guys credit. They chose a good time to come back, and they forced Malachi Gage to defend the titles 2-on-1, and that's how they got them in the first place.
I was just getting ready to say that the neighborhood got a little bit more heavier this last show with some gold.
We did, and the way I look at it, though, it was just returning what rightfully belonged to us. Sometimes whenever you're in a neighborhood, you have some neighbors that are property line offenders, and they want to step across and get on your side of the grass and take things that aren't theirs. But hey, I can't blame those guys. I mean, they're competitive athletes, and when you're a good neighbor, the grass is always greener on your side. So I can't fault them for wanting to come to my side of the fence.
Absolutely.
I was there, and that was won by nefarious means, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, I mean, like I said, we'll get to that later, but I would like to remind everybody that I won the titles with a legitimate broken jaw. Like I had broken I had 2 fractures, mandible fractures. Still won the match, could not compete against the main event, and then was forced to defend the titles. And so I mean, I have some questions about how they got the titles themselves, but that's in the past. It's spilled ginger ale and built a bridge and got over it.
Jay, don't be arguing with the good neighbor.
Listen, I'm not arguing. I know what I saw, but that's another conversation for another time.
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, I remember I tried to tag into that match and was told that I was not allowed. I think that was intentional by the main event because they came back when I couldn't wrestle, and then I tried to tag into that match, and I don't know if they slipped the referee a 20 before the match or what, but I tried to get in there and do it the right way. I
don't believe that happened. Are you pulling a Kurt Angle card with a broken freaking jaw?
Yeah. Hey, you can see the footage online. Like I won. I wouldn't say that word. I guess I'd say I don't like to curse. I won the tag team champions with the I don't know what you want to call it. It was not in my best moment because I couldn't defend it at the time. But
okay.
we got it back.
All right. So what is your first memory of, like, when did your fandom start? What is your first memory of professional wrestling?
I actually remember a long time ago, I was at my, I talk about my Mima a lot and about how she's the one that got me hooked on ginger ale. That was actually my mom's mom. But when it's my dad's side of the family, my dad's dad, my grandfather, I remember he had one of those old, TVs where you had to actually, it had the wooden box in it. And you had to get up and change the channel by hand. So I was the channel changer. And I remember watching WWF. Like, offhand, I don't remember a specific match, but I remember, I was the channel changer. And he would sit in his rocking chair. And I remember he would yell at the guys on TV, like, why the referee wasn't seeing something, or why somebody was like, why somebody was being so stupid with something they were doing. And those are memories I have. I mean, those are actually some good memories I have. And I'll add in that he's somebody that I got a little bit of my fashion sense from. He wasn't really an Argyle guy, but he was into vests. He actually worked for a funeral home. And he always, I don't know. But yeah, so that's my first memory. And then some point after that, I don't remember exactly what year it would have been, but I vaguely remember him taking me to a wrestling show that was actually here in Altoona. It was at the Jaffa Moss, and I want to say that I vaguely remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan being there, but I can't remember who else was there.
Was that a WWF show?
Yes, the Jaffa Moss. They used to. That's one thing a lot of people don't know. And a lot of people might question, well, with as much as I complain about Altoona, why would I come here to wrestle? Altoona is a wrestling town. It has been for a long time. There's a lot of history in Altoona.
Absolutely.
And especially now with Imagine Wrestling here, I might not always see eye to eye with Cato or some of the other people. But the fact is that if you want good competition, if you want a good show, this is one of the places to be.
No doubt. No doubt.
I think Big Lenny is coming after Ian's after that last show. I think he has it out for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems to be, and I didn't think about this until I was grocery shopping earlier. And, I was going down the aisles and, I could open my fridge right now, and I wanted to make some sandwiches today, which I always cut diagonally because that's the right way. And I was looking for some ham and I was looking for some turkey, but I went down this aisle and all I could see is bologna, and it made me think of Lenny because it seems like every time that the neighborhood's on a roll, that's what I get fed by the commissioners, a sandwich full of bologna. And so
those are some pretty strong words, man.
Well, maybe that's the kind of sandwich he likes, or maybe he would like a knuckle sandwich on rye, but I just booted him right in the chest and did what I needed to do because the neighborhood had better things to do. And if you think back on it, a lot of people, if they're just joining Imagine Wrestling, might not remember this, but as a matter of fact, Lenny was in the way on the night that the neighborhood was officially fully founded. And it always seems to be that, I'll take nothing away from him. He's a big guy. He's done a lot for wrestling. He's, well connected in this area, but I saw what guys like Lenny were doing, and as I always say, I wanted to put on a sweater. I wanted to make it better. I wanted to raise the value of the neighborhood and make things just that much better, and that's what I'm trying to do. And he always seems to be getting in the way for some reason. And I think what it is, like Lenny, a lot, much like a lot of the other guys in Imagine Wrestling, and they get brainwashed by like some of the Altoids, and it's not their fault. You know what I mean? And I used to try to help some of the people around here. I tried to clean things up. I tried to raise property values. I tried to have, better lawns in the area. And I just decided to form my own neighborhood. And now that I'm trying to do something better on my own, it's not enough for those people to just leave it alone. Like they now have to try to get in my way. And unfortunately, Lenny got brainwashed by those people and he had to pay the consequences for it.
Okay. All right. Pretty strong words. So, can we talk about
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that one other thing is before we move on, just one last thing that everybody, I saw a lot of people, speaking of the Altoids, a lot of those people are saying I should have been fired. I would like to say that I consulted David Lawless, who was there at the time. I made him a legal, I think the word consigliere for the night. And he made me aware that Lenny said that I had to leave the ring or that the neighborhood would be fired. And we left the ring. And then nobody liked what happened when we did that. So there's no pleasing these people.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what to say to that. So who broke you in, man? Who did you train under?
Well, as a matter of fact, and this might be surprising to some people because I haven't always gone along with them. I had mentioned Imagine Wrestling. I did start out with Cato. We might not always get along, and there's a lot of times that I'm sure that he's not happy with me with a variety of things. But the fact is, like I said, I wanted to go somewhere where the training was good, the training was the best. So I started out with Cato. We also had Manny Fernandez as a guest trainer for a while at the Imagine Wrestling Dojo, and I don't think there could have been a better place that I could have chosen to start out, to be honest with you, because I started with Cato. I had Manny Fernandez as a trainer for I think nearly a year, and then since then we've had guest trainers such as to come in for guest seminars such as Shane Douglas and a variety of other people, and I don't know how it really gets much better than that.
That's quite a cast.
So other than Imagine Wrestling, what other feds do you currently work for?
So I'm primarily at Imagine right now. I've recently started going out to IWC, which, good on them to bring in a good neighbor, and because there's a lot of neighborhoods in Pittsburgh that could use a lot of work. And in my first ever match, I was put in to a battle royal to be the #1 contender. I'm planning on going back out there when I can. And I've also just recently worked for 2PW, which is out towards that way as well.
Very cool. So, so far in your career, who was the best worker you worked with in a ring?
Well, so there's a lot of things you could. To be honest with you, and this is going to be a little bit of a cop out, but I would have to say Malachi Gage. Overall, there may be people that do one particular thing, like extremely well, or maybe a little bit better than he does. But he has size, he has speed, he has technical ability, like almost every category. I'd say he's one of the better people I've been in the ring with personally, and that's one of the reasons I chose him to join the neighborhood. If I had to go outside the neighborhood, and that's tough. There's been a lot of guys to pass through Imagine. Are you asking who I've had officially a match against, or just somebody that I've been in the ring with?
Yeah, I mean either or. Whether you was in a match with him or shared a ring, it doesn't matter.
I would have to say one of the people. I hate to give him too much credit because he's not a member of the neighborhood, but I've been in the ring with Bill Collier a few times since he's been champion, or like whenever I was first starting out in training and the Imagine was just getting started. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how gifted that guy is, both physically as far as strength and his technical ability. But he's also somebody that illustrates why I chose to train at Imagine whenever I first started out.
Very cool.
All right, so the other side of that coin, who is the biggest #shithead that you've ever met, whether it be in the ring or in the locker room? If you want to shoot, if not, that's fine.
No, well, see, here's the thing. I have a story, but out of respect for some other people that were involved with the person, and I'm going to try not to mention names, but I'll just say there was some people might know that there is another wrestling group in this area, and somebody who was, I believe, their champion back when I first started training, tried to bully me in the parking lot of the nearby Walmart here, and it went very poorly for me.
Fair enough.
Oh, wow.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people assume, and it seems to be a reoccurring thing that follows me around. A lot of people assume that because I dress nice, or maybe I put on a pair of slacks or put on a pair of khakis, that I can't take care of myself. That's not the case. I mean, I don't have to look, I don't have to put on a leather jacket or wear chains around my neck, or, I mean, a lot of people do, and that works for them. I don't see any reason why I can't look nice and also handle myself, which is what I did. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody involved with that person is a bad person. There's a few guys that are good, but overall, somebody thought I was going to be an easy target, just like a lot of other people. Like I think Duke Davis has made some comments about, the match we have coming up, that they think that I'm going to be an easy target, or that I don't know how to take care of myself. And well, I've been to a lot of neighborhoods, and I've been to a lot of neighborhoods that guys that dress tough on the outside probably wouldn't have made it through, and I'm still standing here. So I think a lot of people, including that guy, were surprised that I knew what I was doing when they got close to me.
So just let me ask you this: was that an Altoona Fed, or did they come from Johnstown?
They were, I believe, the specific person was more from an Altoona group here.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that person no longer works for that group because of other problems that he caused them.
All right. So if you had a dream opponent currently, who would that be?
Well, I would like to actually see Well, I guess in the shape they're in now, or like, I guess I have to clarify that because there's a lot of people that I respect, but
But
maybe
okay, I apologize. Let me clarify. Past or present?
Well, I think one of my dream opponents would be probably the Macho Man Randy Savage because he's another one of those guys that, I actually learned a few of the moves I used, like the double axe handle off of him, but he's also somebody who faced a lot of the same challenges I do. He was somebody that maybe was a little bit smaller than the people around him and wasn't quite given his due, but he knew how to handle himself when it came time to handle himself. So I'd say either him or I've often looked up to Chris Jericho in the past, so he'd be somebody too. Because I think in Jericho, I'd find somebody who could, obviously keep up with me technically, but also from a mental standpoint, he'd be somebody that would be a little more challenging than the average person.
There's a lot of people that crap on Jericho now for his body type and what he's doing now. What's your opinion of the current Chris Jericho?
Well, I haven't watched the program he's on as much as I would like to. I do think that the facts are he's a little older, but as far as body type, I think that kind of ties into what I was saying about the sweater and stuff. There's this big misconception that everybody that knows how to fight or everybody that knows how to compete is some Abercrombie and Fitch model, or I know a lot of guys who have different physiques and they're still in shape, and he may not be, to be honest, he may not be at the top of his game, but I don't think there's anybody that you could choose or there's not many people you could choose that are half his age that could still do what he's doing right now.
He's reinvented himself quite well.
Well, not only that, but how many people can say that they not only wrestled using their own theme music on their own cruise, and they were able to cut the music and have the crowd sing their own song to them on their own cruise? Like, I don't believe there's anybody that could even possibly do that.
Nah, he's the only one.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, and if he's listening, hey, we're always looking to recruit for the neighborhood. I know he has a group right now, but they're not doing so well. So, hey, put on a sweater and make it better. Maybe you can switch from bubbly to ginger ale for a little while.
Well, we will. We'll make sure this gets to him, and I hope that works out for you.
Yeah.
I'm on the phone with him right now. Hang on. Yeah, he swiped to the right. He rejected my call. Uncle Chris doesn't like me, I guess. So, John, where do you see yourself in 2 years with your in wrestling?
Well, I think that, in my opinion, it goes up from here. And one of the reasons for that is I know I brought up the injury earlier, but that's a legitimate thing. I legitimately had a broken jaw. Like, I wasn't able to. So even though I am competing, and I'm still getting into the ring, if I'm honest with myself, when you can't eat or you can't really work out for, about 9 months, that takes a lot out of you. So in the next 2 years, I'm looking to pack on back some of the weight that I had lost, get myself in better shape. I've been training more, not only with wrestling as you know it, but I've also been going to some catch wrestling seminars to learn some of the older moves. I actually used speaking of the short arm scissors in one of my recent matches, which a lot of those moves might not look fancy, but they work. There's a reason that they're still taught. So then to get back to your question, where I see myself in 2 years, I'm sure I'll still have the best yard in the neighborhood. And in addition to that, I look to be doing bigger and better things and having a more complete, we'll say, resume. I mean, I like that I had tag team titles. I like that I have Dojo Cup, but I don't want to stop there. There's some other ideas I have.
Well, I can guarantee you in 2 years, just because you're on this podcast tonight with us, your career is going to skyrocket. If not, JJ's going to give you $1,000 out of his pocket.
Oh, hey, you can sign me up for that.
I didn't sign up for that.
You just did.
Shit.
But yeah, I see things going up. It's like I said, I got behind on. Um, I don't want to say behind. I just got slowed down. A lot of people took advantage of the fact that I was injured, and every day I'm getting a little bit better, and every day I'm learning more and figuring out how not only to make myself better, but the neighborhood around me, and evaluating the talent we have. And as you saw over the past year, we changed some of that, and that's a plan to make both myself and my neighborhood better.
Very cool.
So if you had one regret, yeah, easy for me to.
You want to try that one again?
We'll edit this out. If you had one regret in your career, what would it be?
And don't say coming on this podcast.
Other than podcast. I think one of the regrets I have, I don't know. More recently, and maybe I should have kicked Lenny a little harder for getting in my way at the last show. I tried to take it easy on him. I know, I thought he would learn the first time, but I don't know. He's a tough guy, but I had to put him down. And honestly, this is probably going to be an answer that might not be what you're looking for, but I wish I would have got started sooner. I mean, when I walk around town, I don't know where you guys are from, but if you ever want to see what Altoids are, I recently got a place here in Altoona. A lot of people don't know that I'm not originally from here, but I've been working here a lot, so I got a new place here. And go to the Sheets that's down the road from the house here at some point at like early in the evening, and I don't know. There's a lot of work that needs done, and I wish I would have got started sooner, both in wrestling and so I could have set a better example. And then maybe a lot of those people that don't know any better, maybe they would have got on board instead of booing. But it doesn't really bother me. I know that a lot of people are stuck in their ways, and they want to resist change. And whenever they see somebody who, I feel like we live in a culture where people are content to just sit in their situation. And I'm not going to deny that people had hardships, but I feel like when you present somebody an opportunity or you try to teach them a better way, they usually resist against it. And unfortunately, that's part of the culture here. So I wish I would have started sooner so I could have changed that. And I would have been a little further myself, but I would have been surrounded by, well, let me look out the window here. I don't know. People would clean up after their pets and have nicer yards, and so I just wish I would have got started sooner, so I wouldn't have been so far behind on the work I need to do.
I gotcha. And to answer your question, we are from Johnstown.
Well, okay. So, well, go ahead.
The best town in Western PA, Johnstown.
Well, I will say Johnstown has some issues, and I will say I recently went to there is a place up there I went to that I was impressed by. It was at Asiago's Italian restaurant. I don't know if you've been there. They were pretty good. It's up on the incline there.
Best Italian food around.
JJ visits that frequently.
I do frequent that place, yes, sir.
Yeah, I had this is for 21 and over neighbors, obviously, but as you know, I like ginger ale, so I went there and they had a really good Moscow Mule that I had, so I enjoyed that, which for those who don't know is we'll say an adult version of a ginger ale. And but I will say though, like in Johnstown, one of the issues I have with that place, and I'm glad from my understanding, we're going to be doing some shows up there with Imagine, so I'm glad we can come up there, because I feel like Johnstown was once a great city, but it needs some work. So hopefully I can put on my sweater and make Johnstown better too.
Well, you might have to recruit us to be your bodyguards when you come to Johnstown. So we'll be there protecting you.
Maybe we can join the neighborhood.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, we'll see what we can do. I'll talk that over with Lance Payne. Like I said, I am the general manager, but I put him in charge of most of the day-to-day business right now. Last I saw, I think he was out working out with Oscar, but I'll get with him about
And thanks for putting me in that, JJ. How do you know I want to be part of the neighborhood?
You throw me under the bus consistently.
All right, that's a fair shot.
That's right.
Well, I would just like to put out there that the neighborhood doesn't take the bus. I drive a minivan, so plenty of room to get in.
Right. Good deal.
Very cool. All right, man. So next we're gonna is our off the top segment. JJ is gonna name 5 wrestlers, and the first thing that pops into your head, just shoot it out.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay.
All right, I got Hangman Page.
Well, I think. Do you want like a word or a sentence? How do you want me to do this here?
Whatever you want to do. It's just whatever is on the top.
Needs to switch to ginger ale before some of his matches. I think he would do better than what he's drinking now.
All right.
JJ, we're going to have to get you some ginger ale from now on.
I do drink ginger ale.
Oh, by the way, I drink a lot. Just speak of that, I drink a lot of different ginger ales, but I typically talk about Reed's ginger ale because it's, especially when I was training, I was trying to find something that didn't have so much sugar in it, but it uses natural ingredients. There's actual ginger in it, which is something that you have to look out for because a lot of ginger ales will claim natural ingredients. Well, that doesn't mean there's actual ginger in it. That just means they use natural stuff.
To be quite frank, I'm scared of ginger. So,
they also have, not to cut you off, I know we're in a segment here, but the same company also makes this a brand called Virgil's, which is when they make root beer and things like that, which is pretty good.
Okay. All right.
Hangman Page, he needs to switch to some ginger ale.
Okay. All right. So, Randy Orton.
I had honestly admiration. Like, he's somebody that much like me, like psychologically, he's outwitted his opponents, and also much like me, he's he's found a way to succeed in a lot of different circumstances.
Kenny Omega.
Honestly, man, I'm honestly not as familiar with him as most people are. I mean, I'm not familiar with him now because of AEW, but overall, I would have to say he talks kind of weird whenever he's on the microphone. Like, I can't, like, what I mean, like, I can never tell, like, it's like sometimes it's almost like he's whispering, but he's not, which I don't quite understand.
He reminds me of and I'm kind of giving myself up here, but he kind of reminds me like he's talking from a 900 number.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some of those commercials. I've never had to call one myself. Some of the ladies around the neighborhood seem to like the sweater, but I get what you mean.
Good for you. Roman Reigns.
Oh, God.
Vindication, and I'll say that because, and I'll be honest, I was also somebody that wasn't on board with him for a while, but I feel like at this point he's, I think where he's at now is more accurate with who he needs to be, and I can actually, now that I think about it, I can relate to Roman Reigns a lot because he's also somebody who kept trying to do the right thing, and every step of the way, like the people around him, not in the neighborhood, but we'll say like because the fans wanted the crap on what he was doing, and he stuck with it, and he had a vision for what he wanted to do, much like I did, and he's now at a place where, much like me, maybe a lot of the people sitting on the other side of the rail don't like what he's doing, but you can't argue with success, and it's funny you asked that because he's a champion now, and you can kind of see the Imagine Live title I have behind me there. So sometimes success isn't popular with people that are content to just sit and do nothing. So I think Roman Reigns has been vindicated in that he is somebody who has talent, and he's somebody who obviously was destined to be a champion. And he just had to realize that sometimes being right is better than being liked.
All right, and
let me add something real quick. Roman Reigns is one Uso light after today, as I don't know if you saw, John, but one of the Usos got arrested for DUI.
Oh, well, maybe he's somebody that should switch to ginger ale too. Then,
absolutely.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, I think.
Yeah, because I will like. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I occasionally I like to have a more adult version of a ginger ale, but you got to be responsible. I mean, and that's part of being in the neighborhood too. And one of the things as a group that we do is holding each other accountable and having standards. I know a lot of people boo that when I come out, when I ask for decorum, such as being quiet whenever there's a noise ordinance or having the sense of detail to trim a lawn or something like that. But what that teaches is accountability. And, whether it's one of the Usos or it's, I think, the girl that just got busted because she was smoking some herbal substances at the Olympics. If you want to do that, that's fine, but don't do it at a time when doing that is going to cut you down or set you back. The neighborhood hasn't done that, and because we hold each other accountable and we make each other better, we have somebody like Rick Matthews who has helped me with my gym routine, and you have somebody like Lance who is good with motivation, and Oscar Maverick with his educated feet, and Malachi Gage with his sense of humor that he adds and puts a smile on everybody's face. And then you have me who, we'll say I'm kind of like the Captain America of the neighborhood that brings it all together and has the vision to go forward. We hold each other accountable and we don't make mistakes like that.
Well, I guess I'm not joining the neighborhood.
I mean, you can still have a good time. Just whenever it's time to do business, it's time to do business.
All right. So my last one I got is describe John Ross.
Wow, John Ross. I guess I'll say the things I usually say, which is the tagline, the quick taglines I usually get is putting on a sweater and making it better. That sounds simple, but I think that's a description of, just get up and get dressed and do what you need to do to achieve the things you want to achieve and be successful. And then along with that, I always say, it's a blessing to have a good neighbor, but it's an even greater thing to be a good neighbor. And that kind of goes along with that too, is John Ross is somebody who not only believes in trying to educate other people, but believes in getting up and doing the work himself and setting the example. And maybe sometimes that example isn't popular with people, but it's going to be the right thing, and it's going to go places for the people that want to go along. So in the end, I would say John Ross is somebody who's a professional, a warrior, and a scholar, and he's a great neighbor.
I agree 100%.
All right, buddy. So go ahead. You got social media. Go ahead and I like to call this plug your shit. So go ahead and plug your shit.
So like I said, at the beginning of the podcast, I do have Instagram, which you could follow me there at real_good_neighbor. You can find me on Facebook by looking up the good neighbor John Ross. And I just recently, I haven't got on it for a while, but not too long ago during the pandemic, somebody hooked me up with a PlayStation, so I'm on PlayStation Live, or PlayStation Network. I'm more of a board games guy, but I just recently got into video games. I think it's Argyle King is my name on there, so you can look me up on there if occasionally when I'm on, if somebody wants to play a game or chat from a neighborhood to get some neighborly advice for somebody that's a little further away and maybe wants to play some games. So once again, on Instagram, it's real_good_neighbor. I'm on Facebook as the good neighbor John Ross, and I'm Argyle King on PlayStation Network.
All right.
Very cool. All right. So we got one random question for you.
Sure.
And what is your favorite wing flavor?
Currently, I'll say this is one of the things that surprised me about coming to Altoona. There's a bar down the road here called McGarvey's. They do wing nights on Thursdays. They have an apple chipotle flavor, which it's like sweet and spicy, but it's like the perfect balance of like I feel like a lot of places either have too much spicy and it kills the flavor, or too much sweet and it tastes like sugar. They found like a good balance. Like whoever's making their wings there knows what they're doing.
Very cool. So, on a side note to that, also, when Imagine comes to Johnstown in October, we are planning on doing a after party. So, you in the neighborhood are definitely invited to the after party.
Well, I'm sure we could come there and spruce the place up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, John. Before we let you go, we want you to cut a 30-second promo about being on Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk tonight.
All right.
The floor is all yours.
Well, Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk. You thought you were great. You thought you were good. But now I'm here. I've put on a sweater. I've come to make it better. John Ross is going to tell you right now that you need to add a little bit more grass to this podcast. You can buy some turf to put by your desk there. At the very least, you could have bought one of the T-shirts that I sell to try to spruce up your wardrobe. But that's all right. I'll give you a pass because we're going to come to Johnstown and we're going to make your neighborhood better. But for now, the next time you can see me is in Altoona at Imagine Wrestling on the 10th of July, where I'm going to be victorious over Duke Davis, just like I've beaten everybody else. And on that day, I'm going to put on a sweater, make it better, drink some ginger ale, and then I'll come back to this podcast and explain to you how I did it all. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, John, for coming on tonight. Jay, do you have anything to add before we let him go and weed whack some of his weeds out in his yard?
That was perfect.
Well,
Thank you.
That's something I should have done was walked outside so I could show you what my neighbor's weeds look like if you want to see why I complain about that.
Absolutely. We got time.
All right. Well, let me go outside for a second here.
You and JJ both have something in common. You just both like cutting grass.
Well, I mean, and I guess this is what you would call a shoot right now because this is real. I'm walking outside. Now, keep in mind, my neighbor doesn't even really have a yard. They have like a little, like couple feet by couple feet area. And well, let me turn this around here once they get around the side of the house. All right, look at this.
Oh, man. That's not a good neighborhood.
No.
There any dead animals in there?
I don't know. I don't even want to go in there because there's thing. Like I get like some people maybe you work or you have something, but there's no excuse for that. I mean, like I said, that's not even a full yard. And so then what it does to me is attracts all sorts of critters, and then inevitably they throw some trash out, and it gets where trash blows in and it gets caught in there, and just if they just took some like a weed whacker and took maybe like 5 minutes, like that would be cleaned up.
That is not being a good neighbor.
No, definitely not.
You know, I hate to say it, but Big Lenny wasn't in that grass, was he? You didn't put him in there after the last show, did you?
I don't. Well, no, I didn't. That is not. Those are not my weeds. But to be honest, like that's not. I can't do that because then what would happen is then it would fertilize the weed, and then they would. Then they would just get higher, and then I wouldn't be able to see out my windows at that point. So.
Oh man!
All right, Mr. John Ross, we will let you go. We appreciate you coming on the show, and we would love to have you back on in the future.
All right.
And
Well,
we will see you on Saturday.
Well, you're going to see see me shock everybody again whenever I defeat Duke Davis. And hey, kudos to him. I mean, he was one of the two main event guys that was going to show up. So he's going from I don't know. He's not from here. Maybe we can convince him to put on a sweater and see things my way.
There you go.
All right, man. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
See you, John. Thank you. And there you have it. John Ross, JJ.
Yeah, man.
Trying to recruit some good neighbors. I don't see him recruiting us. I don't know.
I don't think we fit into that mold, but who knows? We'll see.
Although I do think that I would look good in one of them sweater vests.
I don't know that to be true.
And drinking some ginger ale. I think we can do that.
I'm not doing that either.
You got, trade some of that H2O for some ginger ale.
It's too much sugar.
All right, guys, there you have it. We just had the good neighbor John Ross on, and he will be coming to Johnstown in October. You heard it here first from him, trying to get some new neighbors in Johnstown to join. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to be a blast.
All right, JJ. I will see you next time.
All right, buddy.